What's going on, people? Welcome to the United Stand. Welcome to another catch up with my good friend Per Karlson from TV2 in Norway. Per, it's good to see you again. And I would, what's happened? What's been happening since the last time we spoke? Anything interesting?
What's not been happening, Flex? Oh my God, this has been the most crazy few weeks of my journalism life. At least it's just been. It's been day out and day in and night and day, and it's just been crazy. And as soon as one thing stops, for example, the Super League, and another thing comes. So it's like, oh yeah, it's just been men's. It's been draining, and now I'm finally have a free hour, so I can talk to you. But it's difficult to find some spare time in these days, but I kind of like it as well. You know, it's for me, it's my job, so I think it's interesting. I know it's probably a bit more different for you as Man United supporters these days.
Yeah, just a little bit more stressful, Per. But honestly, thank you for taking the time. Like I said, I know you've been so busy, so to come speak to us here at United Stand, we always appreciate that, man. I mean, wow, where do we start? I mean, let's start about the Glazers. Actually, we're going to talk about loads in this show, but let's talk about the Glazers. Do you see, with everything that's happened, do you see them maybe starting to try and appease the fans with signings? Most notably Sancho. That's been kind of, reported from Germany a lot that, Dortmund are going to lower the price for Jadon Sancho. But just on Sancho and more so the Glazers, do you think that they're going to start to try and appease the fans with signings?
I think that's maybe one of the only thing positive that can come out of this for Man United supporters is the fact that, as you say, the Glazers may feel the need to splash the cash this summer to try and make up for some of the damage done. Even though I don't think it will make up too much, obviously, but as you say, Jadon Sancho, it's been in development with Borussia Dortmund, and I also think there was a kind of a gentleman's agreement between Sancho and Dortmund last summer when he didn't leave, that he could leave this summer. So with a price tag around under £100 million, and maybe even less, maybe he's an option. I've seen reports about Harry Kane making a bid for him. So yeah, maybe that's one of the positives that can come out of this for the Man United supporters. But because I don't think the Glazers will sell, to be honest. But because you obviously seen them yourself, and
Is that the feeling that you still stick with? I mean, a lot of Man United fans do see that. I mean, we're talking about the reform that needs to happen in football from the change. But, I think we saw Avram Glazer out in Florida or wherever he was, just getting into his Palm Beach, getting into the Lamborghini, masked up, didn't give a shit. How do you see it like that? That the Glazers are unfazed, or because there were some reports that the Glazers are a little bit unsettled by what's been going on? How do you see it?
I would have been surprised if they didn't take any notice to what's happened over the last weeks, and especially this weekend, because obviously people will notice when such a huge group of people go against you, and when it causes so much attention around the world. So I would think that they have noticed it, but as you say, looking at the Glazers, and they're back in the US on the high horse, and it's like they're on another continent, so they doesn't really feel the same as people in England feel, and as you say, when you saw Avram yesterday, when Sky News approached him, he didn't seem to
didn't care, did he? Didn't care one bit.
No, he was more busy getting home and cook his dinner. So it was. I don't think they will sell. I think as long as there is money in it for the Glazers, they will stay at Man United. So. Then maybe the best for you as supporters is get something out of it in the likes of a transfer. But I think if if the Glazers are going to leave Man United, it has to be because they're losing money. If that is through tickets or sponsoring or commercials, they have to lose on it to leave. At least that's what I think. So
it needs to become almost like a bad business proposition, like a bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it has to, because why should the Glazers sell now as long as they make money on it? We have to remember, even though I know a lot of Man United supporters, and I obviously was there on Sunday as well, so I know the anger and I understand the anger as well. But we have to remember, at the end of the day, these people are businessmen. They're just in it for the money, and they don't care about the club. And it's been obvious for you guys for like 16 years they don't care about the club. When they came into Man United, they took up a loan and they put the loan on the club, made them in debt. Didn't care about the club then. Don't care about the club now, and they haven't invested anything in the club. They haven't invested in players. They haven't invested in Old Trafford, and so on. So no, I don't think they will feel the need to sell, even though the supporters are protesting, because it's been like this forever for them. Even though it's obviously much more vocal now and a high kind of protest, I don't think, because they are in the US, it's such a distance between everything, and as long they can see in their bank account, okay, there's coming more money in, okay, we stay.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo your sentiments, and it's really refreshing to hear a journalist kind of just say it as it is. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of journalists sometimes can maybe sit on the fence a little bit and kind of think. So no, I love the fact that you're just keeping it real and just saying basically what we see as fans. We're going to talk about a lot of transfers, as usual, and we'll get back to Jadon Sancho. But I wanted to talk about this. You spent some time with Ole, kind of in and amongst the Super League fiasco. I can't remember exactly when you spoke to him. When did you speak to him? Before his press conference that was on the Friday before the Leeds game? I think you did, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Right, on Norwegian TV. How did he seem, man? How do you think he's taking this all in? We know that the Super League fiasco, we can clearly see the players and managers and playing staff and all staff associated with the clubs, apart from the real high people, weren't involved in this. They were victims just like the fans were. Yeah. How did Ole seem to you when you were speaking to him, and what was he sort of saying to you?
Ole is always kind of straightforward. He always tells you thing as there is and as there is, but his problem and his challenge, if you like, that I don't think he can be as honest as he would like to be. Obviously, he works under the Glazers. They basically decide his future if they want to. So I don't think he can say everything as he would have liked to say it, but I can feel when I was speaking to him also after the Super League week and before the Leeds game, you can feel that he was disappointed, obviously in the way things went about, and he also told me that a Super League was against all his principles as a sportsman. And that he's completely against a competition that's where it doesn't matter if you perform or if you get a result. So it seems quite clear to me that he didn't like that proposal, and it also seems clear to me that it's important for Ole to listen to the fans. So I think he's one of the managers that I think really are on the people's side in this, even though he can't say it.
Yeah.
You saw him at Carrington as well when the supporters approached Carrington, and he went over and talked to them. And that's kind of the guy he is. He likes to meet people face to face and eye to eye and try to speak with them. And I genuinely think that he genuinely means it when he said that, okay, we need to listen to the fans. So yeah, I think he was disappointed with the owners going behind his back, disappointed more than surprised maybe, and then just happy it didn't happen.
What was just to kind of take us into that mode of when you were speaking to him, what did you sense was different about him? Was it the way he looked? Were you looking at, was it the way he sounded when he was talking to you? Obviously, you're both Norwegian, so you're speaking your native language. Did he kind of open up a little bit more? What did he seem down? What was it about him that you could see that you were sensing was different, apart from, like you said, what he was saying or what he was unable to say?
I don't know if like I can sense a difference in him, but as you know, when we talked about, I have known Ole for quite a while, and it's we speak quite lightly to each other. So, but obviously, when you can see that when we talk about the Super League, this is something that he really doesn't want to talk about. Not because he don't want to talk about it, but because he wants to focus on other things, and in his mind this is just totally out there. So it's it was just a feeling that he was disappointed, and also maybe a feeling that, you know, when you talk to players, managers, that they really want to say more but they can't because obviously the circumstances. So that was maybe the feeling I had. Maybe he wanted to say a bit more, but then again, he's always honest. He always, in my opinion, he answers as good as any when it comes to direct questions. And so I think he spoke good for himself and also for the club. He didn't make any damage, to put it like that. So.
Yeah, I think when he was dealing with the press conference, I mean, I covered his first press conference. Well, I saw the question you asked him as well in that first, before the Leeds game, and I was very kind of just we were all waiting because he's had a week to kind of process it, because the Super League had collapsed by the time his interview came around, which probably helped him. But you know more than anyone the prep that he would have had, and you know, the people behind the scenes who would have been explaining to him what to talk about, what not to talk about. But I thought he handled it quite well, because like you said, he kind of backed the fans, but he still was on the edge a little bit, where he said, look, I've been backed. I've always had a good relationship with the owners. Like you said, you've got to kind of read between the lines, because he's not going to go in a press conference and say the Glazers are outrageous, they don't care about the football club, and, you know, they're in it for the money. He's never going to say that. But I kind of got that from his press conferences, that he maybe wanted to say more, but obviously couldn't. On to transfers now, though, in some more detail now. I mean, it's kind of a weird one as a Man United fan, Per, I'll be honest, because it's almost like you can feel like, like you said, let's just put transfers out there, let's appease the fans. The fans have been saying they could buy us Mbappe, Neymar, you know, and Haaland in one go. The Glazers would still need to leave the football club. You know, they're not going to, you know, kind of pull the wool over our eyes, as the expression goes. But let's talk about some realistic stuff. I know we just touched on Jadon Sancho. Edinson Cavani looks like he's potentially going to stay now. But there were reports, especially today, that I was reading about more about Harry Kane. How do you see that one planning out, with Harry Kane potentially still being a target for Man United?
I think maybe this whole protest and everything against the Glazers can be the one thing that maybe tip Harry Kane in Man United's favor, because as we spoke about earlier, that the Glazers maybe feel the need to make up some ground, even though for you guys as Man United supporters that won't help, but maybe they think that in the US that buying Harry Kane for 90-100 million pounds will help. So I think maybe, or I expect to see a more aggressive Man United in the summer transfer window if the club looks the same way then as it does now with the Glazers and everything, and you would expect it to do so. I think this might help. Maybe Harry Kane can be brought in because of what's happened, and I see it more likely now. But then again, we have to remember, as you said, it looks more likely that Ole has convinced Edinson Cavani to stay for another year, and then there's another question: do we? Obviously, it's a stupid question. Do we need Harry Kane?
Yeah.
Yes, everyone needs Harry Kane, but if they sign Cavani for another year, is that the position they're going to prioritize? So So it's I think we will get an end to the Harry Kane saga when we get an answer about Edinson Cavani. I think if Ole signs and Man United signs Cavani for another season, I don't think they will go for Kane in the summer.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I agree. I agree with that. If that does happen, which it looks more likely now, the noises coming out of Old Trafford are that Cavani's pretty much made his mind up. So we'll wait to see for an official word on that. If that is the case, where do you see them likely to invest that money that they probably would have put up for Harry Kane or a Haaland, considering now as well that we've now re-signed Eric Bailly on a long-term deal as well, which I thought, I was a bit surprised. I thought he's not going to get in ahead of Lindelof. I don't see that. And I've really thought we'd go for a centre half. So where would you see the money? Where do you think the money would be spent that would have been kind of for Harry Kane?
I'm still on kind of the same page as I was the last time I spoke to you, Flex. I think it's important for Man United to strengthen the depth both in defence and in the midfield. And I still think that even though Bailly signed a new contract, I would believe that Ole also wanting to strengthen the team from behind. If that is through a central defender or central or defensive midfielder, we don't know obviously. But I will. In my head, it's still clear that if you get the chance to sign somebody like we spoke about last time, like Varane or Kunde from Sevilla or anybody like that, you have to go and sign them if there's a reasonable price, and also if they need someone, as we spoke about the last time, has a strong defensive midfielder, and that need is maybe the one I see urging the most at the moment, because if they got Cavani on top and sign him, and if now they have three defenders in Maguire and Lindelof and Bailly, so with those signings, you maybe would believe that it's a defensive midfielder is what is going after this summer, but I still think Man United should sign a centre half. But that's my opinion, obviously. So it remains to see if Ole thinks the same.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. It is going to be interesting how it plays out, because one thing that I have picked up on is there isn't much transfer rumours or transfers talk about a defensive midfielder. It all seems to be about, like you say, Varane, Koundé, Pau Torres, even Koulibaly. I was reading as early as today that we're still fond admirers of him. So a lot of centre-back focus, a lot of right-wing focus with the Sancho situation, maybe Harry Kane. And it's almost like defensive midfield is like, it's just not really been spoken about. Hopefully, yeah, Declan Rice at West Ham, Lingard swap with money, yes, maybe potentially. People talk about Bissouma at Brighton. You know, fans are talking about it.
Maybe Ole is doing what he said he wanted to do. Like he wants to when he presents a new player, he wants nobody to have heard about him. So maybe
which would be a first.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe that's what he's trying to do: sign a new defensive midfielder and avoid getting media attention.
Yeah, well, staying on the midfield department, or some people may argue left wing department, because that's where Paul Pogba seems to be playing at the moment.
Yeah.
There's some noise that basically, you know, he is still open to staying. Man United haven't come to him with an offer as of yet, but if it is appealing to Paul Pogba and meets certain standards, I read quote from The Athletic, if it meets certain standards. And would have to read between the lines as to what those standards are. Money would definitely be one of them. But also the intention of the club and the success of the club. Can you see Paul Pogba staying? And if you can, or if you can't, how much of it depends on the end to this season, finishing second, winning Europa League, etc., and the COVID market?
Yes, it's my short answer. I can see Paul Pogba staying. And the reason for that is because I don't ever get surprised when Ole managed to speak a player into staying. I think as I said the last time as well, it's something special about his man management, and it's not because he's he's kind or like kissing backs or whatever, but it's more like he's just a genuine person, and I think people like playing under him. It's the mood is good and everything else, and now you see Paul Pogba, where he was at the start of this season, maybe didn't enjoy football in the same way. He was injured, COVID, obviously, all these kind of things, and now it's like he's a new player, and those rumors or those outbursts from Mino Raiola as well has stopped. So
apart from last week, he did one last week, but I know what you mean. Yeah,
but Mino Raiola's job is obviously to
exactly.
create interest, but it's not as harsh anymore, and it seems like there is more a chance of Pogba staying now, and I think, as you say, Flex, if Man United go on and win the Europa League as they will do, and finish second in the Premier League as they will do, I think why not? If they have a good foundation now, so if they can keep building on that and re-signing Pogba, they could have a really, really dangerous side the next season.
What I've realised as well is it's no accident that the club have kind of changed their management of Pogba in terms of now he's doing the post-match interviews. Yeah. Now he's doing the lead up to big games. They let him on camera to make the Mourinho comments. These aren't things that are by accident. You know, Laura Woods would have had to put those questions forward. They would have to be okayed. Paul Pogba's response would have had to been okayed, and to let the video go out would have had to been okayed. These aren't things by accident. So it's almost like you say, he's playing good football. He's smiling again. So our people are arguing that he's playing his best football in the United shirt at present.
Yeah.
He's in the team again, albeit on the left-hand side, and he's in front of the camera again. These weren't things that we were seeing before this kind of good run for Paul Pogba.
I think Pogba being in front of camera again could be read as a sign as the trust between the player and the club, because after all this or talks earlier this season about the transfer, about being unhappy at Old Trafford, it's obviously scary for the club as well to put a player in front of camera. But now it seems like the relationship is much better between both Pogba and Man United, Pogba and Ole, Pogba and the rest of the players. Everyone is in a better place, it seems, and Pogba speaking to the media at a regular basis is for me just a clear sign that the relationship between the player and the club and the management is growing stronger, and that has to be taken as a positive sign for the Man United supporters, at least, because I think that means that Ole is getting his work done, and he's clear that he wants to keep Paul Pogba, and he will do everything he possibly can to keep him. And as I think I said it the last time I was on too, that if it's one man that can keep players that seems to want to go, as we spoke about Cavani last time, it seemed, and at that point it seemed almost.
Yeah, I thought he was gone, mate. I thought he was gone, bro.
You wouldn't believe he was going to stay. But yeah, I know I sound like the most biased Norwegian ever.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But that's fine. That's fine. So I think there's a chance. There's definitely a chance, and there's a good chance as well that Paul Pogba will stay. And I think, you know, when they get their hands to this first trophy, as they will do later
You keep saying as they will. So you're certain.
Yeah. So when they get that trophy, I think that is do something with a feeling on an individual basis, but also as a group, as a team, being together with the team that you created this with. So yeah, I think a lot of things will change after that first trophy comes into place in the end of May, and it will come. So yeah.
One thing I do agree with though is Ole's man management. I think you look at how he's handled the Cavani situation, it looks like he would have convinced him to stay. The Pogba situation, I think it was really difficult for him to manage because you got Raiola there. Paul Pogba maybe didn't help himself with some comments when we was on tour in China the year before last. And it was just, we could just feel that he wanted to leave, and almost it is like a U-turn. Don't get me wrong, I do agree that I think COVID played its part in that, in terms of he couldn't get his move this time last year. But Ollie's is one thing that happening, but I think Ollie still needs to capitalise on that and try and get a tune out of him, rather than let him just, let the days and months tick by until he can get his move. It almost feels like, you're right, he's in a position where he's shown Paul Pogba a little bit of intent. And if, when he's playing with players like Cavani, like Bruno, when those three players, who I believe are world-class players, when they link up, it's almost like a different level of football. And it's almost like, you look at some of the comments Paul Pogba's been saying, Bruno can find a beautiful pass and he understands the game and stuff. These are big words for big players. And I think he enjoys seeing that. So yeah, if he does get the Europa League, it'll be interesting to see, does that change his mind? He's won the Europa League already, but then it'll all be about next season. But could you see a position where Manchester United keep Paul Pogba, but let him go into the last year of his contract without signing a new deal?
Yes. That might be a possibility, because but you just look at it. If he won't sign a new deal, and then you have to ask yourself, okay, where do I find the same quality as Paul Pogba? If they, for example, was going to sell him this summer or the next summer, and then maybe they won't get back what they paid for him, obviously. No. But if they get back maybe, let's say 60, 70 million pounds, where do you find that same quality in today's market for that kind of money? And do you find it? And not just the quality, but also a player that is liked in the group, a player that clicks with his teammates. So I think it's so many factors that play into line here, because if Paul Pogba says to Ole, okay, I won't sign a new contract, and if Ole then decides to, okay, but you play for us another season,
that's risky, because then we have to let him go for free.
But just picture it, if the base Man United have now that's solid. If they re-sign Cavani, Fernandes, Harry Maguire, Paul Pogba, Rashford, obviously, Greenwood coming up. There's a lot of good players, and with just a couple more added to this, they could really, really go for the title next season. Even though Man City looks, as Man City looks, but I think, because they have to rate how much will we earn if we let him go, and how much will we earn if we let him stay, even though we lose him for free. But maybe if he shoots or helps Man United to another year in the Champions League, if he helps Man United to another trophy, maybe the Premier League or into the later rounds in the Champions League, that generates a huge lot of money as well.
I see what do you know what? Okay, I see what you're saying. Obviously, as a fan, I couldn't think of anything more stupid than letting Paul Pogba run his contract down. And I was basically saying that one thing we know about the Glazers, like we just discussed at the beginning of the video, is they're all about the money. And they understand that Paul Pogba is a superstar. Like that is, they look at him, he's their pound signs. If they sell him, they get money. They recoup some of them. But I'd never thought about it in terms of, if you keep him a year and he helps you achieve footballing things, then maybe he could recoup the money like that. I don't know. You've made me think of it differently now. I don't know.
A lot of stuff can happen in a year as well. So if Paul Pogba or Mino Raiola or whoever talks about this go and say, okay, we won't sign a new contract, so you have to decide, do you want to sell us, or do we run out the contract? And Ole and Man United say, okay, we run out the contract. And just picture if Man United go on next season, improve the squad, re-sign Cavani, really challenge in the Premier League, really challenge in the Champions League, and sign some new players, becoming a better team, then next summer again, maybe Paul Pogba have changed his mind. We have to remember then he's 29.
Yeah.
Or something next summer.
28, 29, yeah, one of the two.
Yeah. So it's not too easy for him either to just find another club. So
but also the money as well. If they sign him, If David De Gea, which we're going to talk about as the next topic, we'll get there, but he's on 375 grand a week. If they offer Paul Pogba, he could be on 400 grand a week.
Yeah.
Maybe he might not be able to turn that down for a year, and then say if someone comes in for me next year, then let me go. But I've got 2 years left on my contract then because I signed.
No, because who's going to pay Paul Pogba that kind of money?
Exactly.
I can only see one option, and that's Real Madrid. That's the only option I see for Paul Pogba. No other club. But I think if I'm not a coach, obviously, but if I've been in Ole's shoes, I would have.
You sound like Ole. You could pass as Ole. You sound like him.
No, I don't sound like Ole. I wouldn't have. It's fantastic.
Don't you think you sound like him?
It's fantastic. I don't sound like him.
Wait, sorry, just quickly. You do sound like Ole. I don't know whether that's just because we don't speak to a lot of Norwegian, but you have like that half Manchester, half Norwegian accent. It's nuts. You sound like Ole, bro.
No, but you have to remember, Ole has lived here all his life. I lived here for like eight months. So
but you picked it up, but you sound like Ole.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't agree on that. You know, me and Ole, we are from rival parts of the country in Norway, back in Norway.
Yes, what's he? Kristiansand.
Yeah, he's Kristiansand, and I'm from a place called Trondheim, and it's those two parts of the country isn't the best friends. So I don't think Ole would be happy for you to compare him with me or the other way around. So, but anyway, it's fantastic. So where were we? I don't remember.
I can't remember. Paul Pogba, you're basically saying like there's only Real Madrid that can.
I think that's only Real Madrid that can buy him. But I just lost my spot there. But. Yeah, I think as I said, if I were a manager, I would.
That was it. Yeah.
I would have kept Paul Pogba because you won't get the money for him, and you won't get
replacement.
Yeah, replacement on his level, and because maybe you can get a replacement, a prospect or somebody who is close to his level, but you have to remember you're going to play this player into your team. He's going to find his role, and. One other thing, I know Donny van de Beek, for example. He's not the most popular guy in Manchester, maybe. But in Donny van de Beek, Man United signed a really, really good player. And it's easy to forget that he's a really good player. We have to believe we have to remember that when he played for Ajax, he was brilliant. He's scoring goals, providing goals. But coming into another team, it takes time. You have to adapt. You have to adapt to new roles, new players, new managers, new places, a new city. Everything has to count in. And with Paul Pogba, you already have that. And if you're going to sell him if you don't get more than. Yeah, no, I wouldn't. Nah.
If Per was manager, he said, "No, I'm not selling him." I don't know. Do you know what? I'll be honest. I lean more towards the side of I would try and sign him. I would try and sign him again and say, "Listen, I'll give you this money, which is going to be the same as David De Gea, if not more, right? So you're the highest paid player at the club, and that way we're protecting ourselves as a business because the Glazers are all about business." If someone comes in for you next year, like a Ronaldo situation, give us 1 more year. At least we've got the security of you signing a 3-year deal, let's say. You play for 1 more year. So when someone tries to sign you, you've got 2 more years left. Then we protect ourselves in terms of we can still probably get 70 million next year for you, especially if you play well and we do well. One, you might choose to stay, which would be great for us. Or if you don't, we're still protected with the contract because, like you said, you can't go and buy like for like replacement for Paul Pogba. Like even if someone gave us 100 million for Paul Pogba right now, you can't buy another Paul Pogba. You'd have to buy maybe a couple of players, but you can go and get someone like a Jack Grealish or something who's creative for £80 million. Aston Villa would probably charge or something crazy like that. But you're right. But I just feel like if we are going to sell him, we have to try and protect. We have to try and get quite a bit of money for him, or as much as we can. Like I said, we're not going to get what we paid. But I just think running his contract down, I don't ever believe in the Glazers, ever. But because it's
Yeah.
down to money, I don't think they will let him do it. I think they will try and sign him again.
Yeah, they will obviously do whatever
Yeah.
is in power to re-sign him. And
Yeah.
yeah.
But basically, what you was saying though was interesting about. I'd never thought of it that way. But like, if he was going into the last year of his contract and he hadn't signed it, I was just like, that's a disgrace. That surely that can't happen. But when you think of it from a football side of it, if he does achieve what you were proposing, I suppose it's worth its weight in gold, isn't it? Like,
You have to remember, when you sign a player and you sign him, for example, for 3 years, then you sign him for 3 years. It's not like you're signing for 2 years and then the last year is just, oh, we have to do something. You have to do something because you use the years you signed him for if you don't get the money you want for him, or replacement that can really improve your side. And I can see. Please, I don't know. Help me to find a player who can fill Pogba's role within a preseason, a short season as well, because of the Euros.
Very difficult. I agree. Very difficult.
Yeah.
Well, we'll put that one to the viewers. Actually, I think it's an interesting point. Let us know, guys. Do you think Paul Pogba will run his contract down? Do you think Manchester United will allow that? And can you see the good in it, like what Per's saying? Because he definitely made me think a little bit differently of what that would look like if he did run his contract down versus, try and sign him up now and protect the asset. David De Gea, man. David De Gea. Sam Johnston's been touted from West Brom as coming back to United, even Tom Heaton. But basically, I think the general consensus is that Man United will be in the market for a second goalkeeper, as it looks like David De Gea will leave. Earlier in the year, a few months ago, we heard that David De Gea's camp was basically saying, we don't know anything about leaving. I don't mind the competition. I'm ready to fight it out. I think we can agree that Man United won't sell Dean Henderson. They definitely are invested into him. Mm-hmm. Is it curtains for David De Gea? Are we looking at bringing in another second keeper, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that was made clear. Couple months ago when Dean Henderson started playing in the Premier League, and Dean Henderson is the younger one, and he's what comes to potential, he's the most potential, because David De Gea is obviously kicking 30 or something. I don't know. So
he's 30, yeah.
Yeah. So no, it's hard for me to see David De Gea staying in Manchester as a second goalkeeper, or without promises he will play a lot of football. And I'm not too sure Ole can give him those promises next season with Dean Henderson in line. So, and also, as you say, the rumors about Sam Johnston coming back home again, that could also, I think that is also telling us something about the dynamics here, and it looks like Man United are in the market for a second goalkeeper, because what they have now is really two first goalkeepers.
Yeah.
So they have to choose one, and I think it's starting, at least for me, to become more and more clear that Dean Henderson is the one Ole is going for, and then David won't stay, and Man United won't keep him either, because, as we've talked about earlier, his paycheck is 375,000 a week, and you don't have a backup keeper on 375,000.
No. Yeah, some would say you don't even have Dean Henderson yet on 120 yet in his first season. It's crazy. But actually, like you said, with the Paul Pogba situation of what would be the right thing to do, is your feeling, like you said then, there is, definitely you can't to let him go.
Yeah, definitely to let him go, because the situation with Paul Pogba is different. Paul Pogba is a player that, when he plays as he does now, nobody can replace him. And David De Gea is Dean Henderson has proven someone can replace David De Gea, and he's done it quite well as well. So good as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's a totally different situation with David De Gea. He's 30 years old, and his wages are sky high, and he can be replaced, and he's about to be replaced, and then it's no point for Man United to keep him.
Yeah, and I lost my train of thought there. Oh, yeah, that was it. What, Dean Henderson? What do you actually think of him? Like, how do you see it? Some United fans are saying, can't believe David De Gea has been treated this way. What's he done to lose the number one position? Dean Henderson's not better than him. David De Gea is way clear of him. And some people are saying, listen, Dean Henderson comes for crosses more. He's more vocal. They prefer him. And it's actually a bit of a 50-50 across the fan base that of the people I speak to. How much do you rate Dean Henderson?
I think it's kind of as I spoke about the last time, that a lot of the reason for Dean Henderson playing, I think, is his age and that he's English. He's 24 years old, and when it comes to levels, I would say David De Gea and Dean Henderson are pretty close. They both have some attributes that are better than the other one. David De Gea, maybe as a shot stopper and on the line, he's amazing. And then you have Dean Henderson, as you say, who's vocal, who's dominant in the area. He goes out and controls the high balls and whatever else. And he showed also playing for Sheffield United last season how good a goalkeeper is, and he's on his way up, and you could argue that David is on the other way, even though 30 isn't really an age for a goalkeeper, but even
he's reached his peak potentially.
Yeah, maybe. And you also see the David De Gea playing for Man United the last couple of seasons hasn't been the David De Gea playing for Man United for 5-6 years ago. So I think it's I can understand Ole's decision of going with Henderson, considering his age, his potential, his nationality, and also what he gives within the group, being vocal, being present, and yeah, I think it's also important for Ole, as he has spoken about many times, this Man United true and true kind of vibes, and I think you have that in Dean Henderson. So I don't think Ole has anything against David or anything against his qualities. I just think he prefer the other option.
It's interesting when you say about at the beginning what you said of his nationality. And like you said, he came through the youth at Manchester United, because a lot of people do argue that the media have had have played into it to help push the, if Dean Henderson's name was Gianluca, that would Manchester United, not just the media, I don't want to label it at them, but would the urge to replace De Gea with this younger keeper be as strong if he wasn't English as well?
No, it's not certain it would have been, but it should have been. But then again, the nationality that where players come from, that comes into line at some points anyway, and that's something managers has to think about because of the registrations to the Champions League and whatever else. So when you have a player, an English player at Dean Henderson's level, I think it's just natural that you use him and that you take care of him, because Dean Henderson could potentially grow into be a world-class goalkeeper, and if he does, you would like him to play for Man United. But if he was, I don't think Dean Henderson either would have liked to stay on the bench next season, for example.
No, he seemed adamant of that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's not sure he would have stayed. So if then you have to choose between the 24-year-old Englishman or the 30-year-old Spanish guy, then as you say, it's difficult, but because I see the people meaning David De Gea is maybe the same level goalkeeper or even better, but that's all his decision. So it's like And from my point of view, that's how I see it. I think it's because of the nationality, age, and potential, and also De Gea's salary has to be taken into consideration as well, because that's huge.
That is a massive one. The salary, especially when you've got a keeper who could be on more than half that, less than half that. Sorry, who is, but the gap in their ability isn't less than half that. Do you know what I mean? So I get it, and the longevity. I just think, to finish off on David De Gea before we move on, I just think the timing. I think the timing is what's killed David De Gea. I think if Henderson wasn't ready yet, or Henderson wasn't there or thereabouts, they wouldn't be trying to look for a new keeper. They'd just keep David De Gea. But because he's shown that he can play at a certain level, and I still think he's got a little bit more to prove. I want to see when fans are back. I want to see Old Trafford packed out, pressure games. He still hasn't showed that. I know at Sheffield United he has, but it's different pressure. But he's shown he's a good keeper. I'm not going to lie, and I like him. I like how he conducts himself. I like his belief in himself as well. But I just think it's the timing and the circumstances that have actually helped, David De Gea, not be the number one anymore. And also, we can't rule out, maybe David De Gea wants to go back to Spain and be near his family and stuff like that. So we don't know what's happened behind the scenes. But
that could be. Yeah.
I think we'll see on that. Just lastly on transfers before we just finish off and just talk about the team and the running of the season. Could we see potentially some more squad depth added in terms of some help for Wan-Bissaka in at right back, some utility players just kind of brought in, or is it Manchester United just looking at sort of two key signings of expensive nature, or will we see kind of, another centre half, like you say, to help out, another right back to help out? How do you see it?
I think another right back would have been, or is something that Ole should consider, because Aaron Wan-Bissaka has played some good games, some bad games this season, and he's quite unstable, and that's obviously because of his age. Some brilliant games, but sometimes he's not at the levels that are expected, and that can be because he doesn't have anyone that really pushes.
Literally, he has to play every game.
It's Williams is maybe the closest one, or. Yeah, so I think it's natural for Man United, if they want to develop that position and help the development of Wan-Bissaka as well. We just saw what Alex Telles coming in doing to Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw has literally become Roberto Carlos over the last year after Luke Shaw came in. So I think that's something that's necessary for a player, because you need someone to push you to lift you to that next level. You have to feel insecure about your place in the team, and I don't think he feels that very much. So and it has been spoken about Kieran Trippier, for example, from Atletico Madrid. That's one name that has been mentioned, and that's, I think, if it's not Kieran Trippier, but it's in those kind of names. I think Man United has to look around an experienced one, a player that is good enough to play for the first team, but also a player that can be on the bench. So a right back is natural for me, a position Man United has to be looking into. And what was the other question you had about? Was it midfielders and? Yeah,
midfielders maybe, or centre back. I know we spoke about centre back, but even because we've kept Eric Bailly, does that mean, like you said, Tuanzebe may have to leave now? Brandon Williams may have to leave. Just a couple of what you think will happen in those departments.
I think I wouldn't imagine Brandon Williams leaving. If he was leaving, I think will be on a loan. Because he's a versatile player that can play on both sides, and he's young. He's well liked by Ole. So I don't think he's leaving. Tuanzebe, maybe. Not too sure about that one. Haven't heard too much about it either. But as I said before, I would, if I was in charge, I would have signed a central half besides that can play with Harry Maguire, and I will also look in midfield. one of my things for next season, because I mean, in my opinion, Man United signed one of the best box-to-box midfielders in Europe last summer. I'm quite a fan of Donny van de Beek, and I think it's quite a shame to see how
Massive.
he has been used or not used this season, because you're buying one of the best box-to-box players, but you don't have a formation to play with those kind of players.
Do you think it will change next year for him?
I would hope so, and I would, as I said before, I think Ole wants to play higher up. He wants to play with more control in the opposition's half, and it's easier to do that if you have a midfield with a midfield three, for example. But then again, what's going to happen to Bruno Fernandes and his position? He won't do anything to damage Bruno. And
yeah, he's too influential. That has been a big part of why Donny can't get in, for sure.
Yeah, but then it's like, I'm just wondering why are you buying Donny? Why?
Exactly. Who sanctioned it? What was the thought process behind it?
Yeah, exactly. Because he playing in Ajax in a 4-3-3, he scored 23 goals and had 19 assists in his last 2 seasons for Ajax. From
top player.
Yeah, he's a good player. And then you have
a game against Real Madrid.
Huh?
He ran a game against Real Madrid where they went to the Bernabeu and beat them up, and
exactly.
won. They played brilliant.
And a lot of those goals and goals provided came in the Champions League, as you speak about. He's a player that has proven his levels. He's an expert of running into space, finding the right places. He's maybe not the most brilliant dribbler or the most brilliant passer or maybe even the most brilliant finisher, but he's like, it's like having an Ole type in the midfield, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
he's someone who always gives it all for the team, and he's someone who has the knack of just getting in the right position and getting just a toe to the ball and nick it in. So
because of his brain, the way he reads the game and the way he understands football, like you said, a product of the Ajax academy. That's their football philosophy. Is that is how they play. They play the game the right way.
Yeah, and on top of that, he's a workhorse as well. So if you know what you're going to get with him. He's going to give it his all every game. And now you can see when he's playing, it's a lack of confidence. It's a lack of. I don't think Donny feels that the rest of the players believe in him more. That he believes in himself, and it's really difficult to make an influence when you almost doesn't play games. And coming in as a substitute or getting 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there, and never get this continuity that you need to find your form, and especially if you are going to play in a position you haven't played the last 2, 3, 4 years. So that's Donny is just a big surprise for me, and just a big why. Really.
Yeah. I mean, the way Ole's used, I mean, bringing him on for like 2 minutes and things like that, almost like insulting him, I think, at times. Yeah. Almost like Donny's entitled to say, listen, I've played Champions League semi-finals, mate. I've been quarterfinals against Real Madrid. I've been Bernabeu against Cruz, Modric, Casemiro running the game. Like, what do you mean you're bringing me on for 2 minutes when the game's dead? Like, I'm better than this. And I respect him because he doesn't seem like a controversial character. He seems like a really good, honest footballer. And he's just, you don't hear rumours that he's out talking to this. He's just trying to, bide his time. And even the people at the Dutch side of it, Overmaster's comments, Van der Sar's comments, I think it was De Boer as well, just kind of saying he should stay out and just try and go again. But I agree with you, Per. Unless Ole changes the formation to incorporate someone like Donny van der Beek, he's not going to do it because he doesn't see him being able to play as a 6 for some reason. He doesn't think he can be a box-to-box midfielder. Anytime he's used Donny is usually as a 10 in replacement for Bruno. And like you said, that's not really his game. Getting the ball and finding a killer pass is not his game. He's better than that. So unless he's going to take Bruno out of there, buy a defensive midfielder maybe, and play the defensive midfielder Bruno and Pogba, or the defensive midfielder Bruno and Donny, and just mix it up a little bit. I can't see where he plays. Not going to play him on the left wing. Not going to play him on the right wing.
No, I can't see it either, and I think it's just so weird, because I wouldn't imagine only buying a player that didn't fit his system, because why would you spend 35 or 40 million pounds on a player? Okay, if it's a player that fits your system, then you maybe can spend that kind of money and don't use him as much the first season, because you know he can go in and do the job
exactly
if needed. But you don't know. I just think it's a real strange one, and it makes me it gives me vibes that this is not maybe 100% all his work, because it doesn't,
weird.
It doesn't add up. But I wouldn't know, of course, 100%, but I just think it's weird, and it's a shame as well, because as you say, Donny he's a really nice guy, and really humble guy. He's one of the guys at Old Trafford, always saying hello to everyone, the stewards, the press people, the guards, everyone. And he's not complaining. Never have I heard him complain. So hopefully he'll get more chances next season, and hopefully in a position he can contribute from.
Yeah, absolutely. Per, listen, thanks very much for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure. Tell us your final kind of predictions for well, you kind of have throughout the video, but just kind of officially give us what you think will happen for the rest of the season, and who will have the biggest say in it, like players wise.
No, officially for the rest of the season, you're probably gonna win a couple in the Premier League, I reckon, and then you're gonna win the Europa League in the end of May in Poland. So I think it's going to be a decent season for Man United with a second place in the Premier League and a Europa League trophy. That has to be good enough, in my opinion, for all this second full season, and then you guys can really kick on to the next one, and then it's always exciting, of course, to see what's going to happen on the transfer front. I think the protesting, everything happening with the Glazers could be a potential something that potentially gives you one of those big signings that you want, but at the same, maybe it's going to be with a kind of a bad taste if the Glazers sign a big star now. I don't think
it will be. Yeah,
I don't think. As I said, I was at Old Trafford Sunday. I don't think a star would help. I don't think, as you said as well, I don't think 3 stars would help. So
no,
it's gonna be an interesting one. This, and so it's just have to charge my batteries for the last part of the season, because
for the running.
The last few weeks has been crazy, but I reckon that the next few weeks is going to be crazy as well. So
see you in Poland then. See you in Poland.
Yeah, of course. I've already booked, so I'm ready.
Love that. Listen, we love having you on. The viewers love having you on, and it's so refreshing. Like I said earlier, to speak to a lovely, down to earth journalist who just kind of says their opinion, says it as it is, and is really honest, man. So love that, and we'll speak to you again soon, maybe in and around the Europa League final.
Looking forward to it, Flex.
Nice one, man. Speak again soon. Peace.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for watching. See you all again soon.